Hello my strong friends. In today's video, we are gonna go over some of the movements for you to master before you start barbell training. I created this channel with the hope of getting more women interested in heavy lifting and lifting some barbells. And for me to really do that, it's important that we think about some of the progressions to lead newer lifters into this badass world of plates and weights and all that good stuff. If you guys are new here, then hello, my name is Meg Squats and I'm a certified fitness trainer. I'm also a power lifter and I make videos here on YouTube on how to get strong. So I post them every Friday, by the way. So if you guys find any part of this video helpful, then please do give the video a like. And if you love this video, then subscribe to my channel so you never miss more videos about getting strong. So before we dive into the exercises, which will include some use of dumbbells and kettlebells, I wanna take a moment to explain why barbell training is great for everyone. So I'm gonna teach you like how to lift before you start lifting the barbell. So it's important that you know why you should eventually get to that point anyway. So with a barbell, you can do all the fun functional movements like deadlifts, squats, you can press and row, and you can do them with a lot more weight than what you can with dumbbells or kettlebells. The biggest benefit of training with the barbell is the ability to consistently and incrementally add weight. So meaning that you can continue to challenge yourself at all stages of your strength journey. Other implements just aren't as adjustable and they usually become more difficult to maneuver as they get heavier. So with barbell training, your max effort mechanics should look similar to your warm-up mechanics. Now that's in like an ideal perfect world where you have great form and everything, and not just great form, but like perfect form, but I digress. Barbells also lend themselves to making super small jumps when you're training. So you can make 5-pound or even 1 kilo jumps if you have the right equipment. Now precise jumps like that are difficult with other implements because they usually involve like increments of 5 pounds or more. So if you're training with dumbbells, usually you have to make a 5-pound jump on both dumbbells. So like you can't just make like a 1-pound jump to get a little bit better. You have to make like a 10-pound jump, which is hard to do week after week, especially when you're just getting started.
And it's like a big percentage of your max.
Exactly. Barbell training also gives us an opportunity to develop and strengthen our natural movement patterns with more resistance. As opposed to using machines where we're typically forced to move in a single plane or around a single joint, training with the barbell offers the freedom to move and perfect our form by practicing more efficient movement. Now, this might mean it's also a frustrating journey, but it has its benefits in balance, athleticism, and overall strength. Typical barbell training places more stress on the body, meaning that our training is more efficient and conducive to muscle growth. We're also able to learn how to move our body as an entire unit through some compound multi-joint movements. Many machines that you're gonna find in the gym are based on isolating a particular muscle or a particular muscle group, and those can be effective, don't get me wrong, but the barbell is a more versatile and effective tool for resistance training, and it tends to offer the more bang for your buck, and especially for newer lifters. Now there's no predetermined amount of time you need to be in the gym before you start barbell training, and the most important and intimidating aspect of finally picking up the barbell is your form. A good rule of thumb is to perfect or improve your form with your body weight first, and then start implementing dumbbells and kettlebells, and make sure that your form is confident and pain-free above all. We encourage our lifters to keep a habit of recording themselves in the gym when they're working on form. So don't make fun of your friends when they're like recording their gym lifts. It's not always for Instagram, but when it's me doing it, most of the time I'm doing it to post on Instagram.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, which is where you are right now. Subscribe.
And Patreon.
We don't have a Patreon. Don't join a Patreon. Yes. Don't join a Patreon on someone telling you that it's my Patreon because they're lying to you.
Yeah, it's probably my Patreon.
You're just giving Ryan money. He's taking like feet pictures of me and posting them on a private Patreon. So also in my experience, just watching efficient lifters is a great and easy way to improve your technique. Back in the day, in the early days of YouTube, YouTubers used to just upload footage of their training. Like they would just dump training footage on YouTube. And those videos do not work anymore on YouTube, but that's what we used to do. So check out some of my older videos and you can get a feel for what YouTube 6 years ago used to be like. And also you'll get a good library of lifts to watch.
I'll get my Patreon.
Hey, don't look at my dog brush.
looking at those.
Don't do this. He's violating my privacy.
No, this is my Patreon content.
A good sign that you're ready for barbell training is when you feel comfortable squatting, pressing, and hinging with your body weight and other implements. So this video is gonna go through some exercises to help you master those movements and movement patterns with dumbbells and kettlebells. So our first movement is the goblet squat. I do want to stress that all of these movements are still things that I currently work into my programming. So just because a lifter becomes a power lifter or like really efficient in the barbell doesn't mean that they forget or can't benefit from the movements that I'm about to talk about. I personally find a very heavy set of goblet squats to be really efficient and brutal on my core actually, and the more upright positioning helps me emphasize my quads. So goblet squats can continue to be progressed for as heavy as your gym allows and as heavy as the kettlebells are that you have, and it can be performed with a number of different pieces of equipment. So you can use a dumbbell, a kettlebell of course, you can also use a cable machine or a landmine. So before we actually pick up any weight, let's look at what we're looking for with a bodyweight demo. If you're uncomfortable with the bodyweight squat, then take this tutorial and continue to practice it with no resistance. To keep things easy, we have 6 standards that we're looking for with any kind of squat movement. The first is a neutral spine. Don't flex or extend your spine. Then you want to think about your heels and toes and make sure that they're planted. And for beginners, you might find it helpful to focus on driving in with your heels as you're finding balance and stability. But eventually you'll focus on pushing through the entire foot. Next, make sure that your knees track in line with your toes. You want to make sure that your knees are going in the same direction as your toes. You definitely want to avoid allowing your knees to cave in. You may have heard before that your knees shouldn't extend past your toes, but that really all depends on your positioning. For more info on that specifically, check out my squat tutorial that I'll leave in the description. The next aspect is breathing. So while you're under the load or before your squat, you want to practice and eventually use some intra-abdominal pressure to protect your body. Is that mine?
Oh, that's mine.
You're fired! Is that your alarm of all things?
Yeah, it's not even a call.
He has an alarm on his phone because he takes a nap in the middle of the day, and this alarm is to remind him to wake up.
No, it says check program.
Yeah, wake up from your
Probably
nap.
checking your program.
Yeah, right. So practice breathing in before the rep, and then hold it, and then breathe out once you return to your start position. When you're initiating the rep, you want to break at the hips and the knees. So as you begin, focus on breaking at your hips and knees at the same time. Push your hips back and then bend at the knee. Imagine that you have a rope pulling your hips in one direction and a rope pulling your knees in the opposite direction. Descend to parallel or lower. When you're down in the bottom, then you want to extend to the start. So press your feet back into the floor and extend fully at the top of your squat or the start position. So now we're gonna focus in on finally adding some weight. So you can add a kettlebell for resistance by holding the kettlebell in your chest with your elbows bent. This can also be done with a heavy dumbbell, so you're getting pretty much the same movement, or alternatively, you can perform a similar exercise with a kettlebell in a front rack position or even a double front rack position. So again here, the suggestion is to first get very comfortable with the movement pattern, and then you get comfortable loading the movement pattern. Once you're working with a weight of about 30 pounds or more with a goblet squat, first of all, that's pretty heavy, just so you know, you're probably ready to start using the barbell. So once you're there, then check out my barbell back squat video for a full tutorial on that movement. The deadlift may seem to some like the most intimidating movement. So before we start working in barbells, we'll focus first on our hip hinge to drill in that movement pattern and simply just get used to like picking things up off the ground. So first, let's start with a kettlebell deadlift. You want to start in a standing position with our feet directly under our hips, and the kettlebell will be in between your feet. So with some control, you want to break at the hip, so push your butt back and allow your arms to reach down. Throughout the entire movement, we want to maintain a neutral spine, and during our repetition, we want to avoid locking out our knees. Instead, just keep a slight bend in the knee and expect a bit of movement throughout the range of motion. So one tip we want to prioritize during the rep is to make sure that your shins remain vertical throughout the movement. The vertical shin will help you maintain a solid base so you can push into the floor as the weight gets heavier. It's also a principle when you start performing other barbell deadlift variations. Once the kettlebell reaches the ground and you start to feel a stretch in your hamstrings, you can return back up to your start position. I like to think about pushing my hips forward and my torso up on the way up. If you have any mobility restrictions, or if you have a hard time bringing the kettlebell all the way down to the ground while maintaining that neutral trunk and spine, you might want to raise the height of your kettlebell by performing these to a plate or some sort of platform. One of the most important things to note with form is to focus on maintaining a strong, engaged, and tight back during your pull. Before you even grab a bar, try this. You want to think about shrugging your shoulders up and then pinch them back and then pack them down. So what we're looking for here is an engaged back that allows us to stay in a strong, stable position throughout the entire range of motion. It's really important when you start working the barbell to get used to getting in this position. Some of us call this packing in your lats. So think about packing your lats down. This will help you get used to engaging your back muscles and help you as you start lifting more heavier weights. Mastering the kettlebell deadlift is good practice because as the weight is light, you'll continuously go through this mental checklist before you're picking the weight up off the ground. While you're just getting started, it's good to build habits of mindful and technical training. Make sure you're thinking about the setup of your deadlift, bracing the core before you pull, packing in your lats and shoulders, and maintaining that tension and spinal alignment throughout your reps. If you don't have access to kettlebells, don't worry. You can still practice your hip hinge and learn to deadlift with other implements like dumbbells or a landmine. Just keep in mind that if you're using dumbbells, you might not be able to reach all the way down to the ground between reps. And that's okay, just stop when your hands get to like the mid-shin level, where you should feel a light stretch in your hamstrings before you're coming back up. The deadlift has plenty of variations, and a great and approachable variation is the trap bar deadlift. The trap bar is a more beginner friendly and allows the lifter to utilize a more comfortable and natural movement pattern. Due to the handles on the sides, a trap bar allows you to simply reach down directly to your sides and get in your start position. The shape of the bar allows you to stand straight back up with less back extension, more knee extension, since the bar doesn't work around your shins and knees on its way up. Positionally, this just makes the trap bar deadlift almost more similar to a squat than a deadlift, since there's a greater knee extension component than in a regular deadlift. While the trap bar deadlift is a tool used by some of the strongest lifters in the world to build strength and muscle, it isn't the end-all, be-all deadlift variation. A lot of newer lifters rely on the trap bar deadlift as a crutch since it's an approachable variation, but learning a standard straight bar deadlift will help build a more well-rounded foundation across a broader range of movement patterns. So hopefully if you're here, you've done some push-ups before. Like this video if you've done a push-up before, even just one. If you haven't, then do your first push-up and then like this video. Hey, that's a good technique, huh?
This video better have as many likes as it has views.
If this video doesn't get to 50,000 likes, I'm gonna be so disappointed in you. Yes, you watching this. And you too, Ryan. Mastering the push-up is the first step in improving the bench press. And even though you don't have a bar or implement in your hand during the push-up, there are still a ton of similarities. So to talk about technique with the push-up, you wanna first make sure that you're relaxing your head and neck. Your chin should be down and tucked as you aim to keep your spine neutral. Make sure you're not shrugging your shoulders, and instead your shoulder blades are retracted. If you recently watched my bench press tutorial, you'll notice a ton of similarities with my advice there and here for the push-up. Next, think about tucking your hips and keeping your rib cage pulled down so that the top position of the push-up is neutral and in a straight line. You want to avoid being arched or rounded through the torso, and these cues will help you hold a strong and stable position. Now for hand width, there's no one right answer, and different widths will emphasize different muscle groups more. A close grip will be more tricep dominant, whereas a wider grip will be more chest and shoulder dominant. We recommend for lifters to start with a width slightly outside of shoulder width and adjust from there based on what feels most comfortable and strong for you. As you start to begin your descent, aim to tuck the elbows slightly on the way down rather than flaring out 90 degrees from your torso. Again, if you watched my bench press tutorial, this might sound familiar. As you descend into the push-up, aim to touch the floor with your chest if you can. From there, you're ready to push back up towards the start position. You can scale the push-up to be harder with your feet elevated or with weighted options, or you can make it easier with your hands elevated or by dropping to your knees for assistance. No matter how you scale, we recommend aiming for controlled movements in all of your reps. And if you've done a scaled push-up, you can still like the video. So another movement is the dumbbell floor press. We like to start beginners off with training the dumbbell floor press. So the floor press is a great.
It's great.
It is great. Dumbbell floor press is a great way to start learning the mechanics of the bench press while implementing a more stable surface and controlled and limited range of motion. The limited range of motion reduces the shoulder joint stress while still providing a solid stimulus for the pecs and triceps and drilling in the basic movement patterns of the bench. You may feel more confident to push weight on the floor press as you continue working on and perfecting your technique. So to set up for the floor press, you'll lie on the ground and place one dumbbell at a time in your hand. Use your free hand to stabilize your body, making sure that both of your shoulders are on the ground. Raise your dumbbell and then lower your weight with control so that the upper arm rests flat to the ground. Your elbows should be slightly tucked, not driving down straight to your side and not going out 90 degrees. But pause in the bottom position and press up, pushing your dumbbell away from the body and into the center. When you're feeling confident, you can try this movement with 2 dumbbells, or you can try the single arm or double arm version on a bench. That's it. We did it. All right, you guys, that is all for our movements today. Now remember, again, the goal with these movements is not to be the best goblet squatter in the world, but instead to gain some comfort and familiarity with the general movement patterns. These exercises will get you working on your squat, your hip hinge, and your press before you start moving on up to barbell training, which I also understand can be like really weird and scary, and even just picking the barbell up like out of the little rack that it's in is like, it's freaking weird and awkward if you've never done it before. But comfort with the barbell comes with practice, repetition, and you're unfortunately, never gonna be 100% confident without actually getting the barbell in your hands or on your back. So just because you don't feel already ready or totally ready, it doesn't mean that you can't start practicing and learning. You can always start introducing empty barbell work at the same time as you are introducing some of these movements here, or you can grab yourself a broomstick. You have a broomstick at home?
Like this fucking video.
If you have a broomstick at home, then you can perfect your squat, your deadlift, and your bench. That I can guarantee. So I hope that this video was helpful in giving you some ideas on how to get started in the badass section of the gym that I can't wait to see you in. Just give me a call and let me know what gym to meet you at. If this video was helpful, then do give this video a like. It helps out the channel a lot and lets me know that you're doing push-ups. And if you're new here or if you loved this video, then subscribe to my channel. I post videos about getting strong and lifting weights and all kinds of stuff every Friday.
This is the most desperate video for likes. I've never seen you begging for, I will pay you guys. If you like this video, put your Venmo in the comments below and I'll like send you guys some money or something.
So if you like this and you want to start getting into training more seriously and want to get on a program, then try our program. It's Stronger by the Day. It's only $8 a month. $8 a month, and it's set up to get you super strong. We do program with some barbell movements, but of course you can use the options listed in this video to work your way into the full training that we have there. Every movement in our program has a demo for every single exercise, so you're never left in the dark. And we have detailed technique videos and guides on those major barbell lifts. I think I said this already, but each prescribed exercise that we have, it also includes a list of recommended substitutions. So you can follow at your own pace as you're starting to learn, and you can scale it to your starting point, whether that's where you might be right now, working your way up to the barbell, or if you're already a barbell pro, like a professional barbell lifter, which is exactly what my title is. But we did build the program.
Is that your LinkedIn?
I need to update my LinkedIn.
Professional barbell lifter?
My LinkedIn has like my old job on it.
You got locked out of your LinkedIn, I think. You have a new one.
Yeah, if you ever see my LinkedIn, like, it is an embarrassment.
Your old one was cool though.
So we did build our program to be both approachable and scalable. So if you're at the beginner stage, this will help you work into being your strongest ever. We have lifters of all training ages and real ages. And we have an entire community of lifters and coaches who have been exactly where you are today. So you can get solid programming and some awesome advice from our private Facebook group. And you can talk to people who are where you were and where you wanna be, which I assume where you wanna be is doing some push-ups and hitting that like button, baby. Go to strongfriends.com and you can find my program. I talked enough about it in this video, but all right, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you, bye. Ooh, my ham hock. Strong, strong friend.